此处正是坐标所示的位置。
白笑，傻子才继续等。
光是外部的
当心，下面有人！
开什么玩
火焰，都只有宇宙霸主级别才可堪堪承受。九霄河，
是降神之主的弟子们。
身体在加速消耗，得赶快！
好霸道的一击！
就敢破我封印，看你能不能把握这次生的机会。
Hello everyone, welcome to the loophole channel. Here I will share spoilers for SwallowedStar episode 2 on 16. Remember, this is based on the novel, so it won't be 100% similar to the Donghua version. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right into the story. After the Thornring Alliance forces were fooled by the explosion of the Golden Horned Beast's body, Luofeng's remote ocean body quickly bolted from the battlefield to avoid getting dragged into any more chaos. Thanks to his intimidating aura that made him look like a badass universe overlord, the venerable from the Hong Alliance who crossed his path chose to steer clear, not wanting any trouble. With a solid strategy, Luofeng successfully reached the portal and made it safely back to his base using God Country transportation. The moment he got back to his palace, Luofeng immediately met with his master, the Primal Chaos City leader, to report his success in bringing home the prized treasure. His master was super proud that Luofeng managed to make it out of a highly dangerous situation involving multiple major factions across the universe. Now, Luofeng had a big decision to make. Should he keep the Divine Sword to boost his own power, or trade it in for race contribution points to snag other treasures he actually wanted? After thinking it over carefully, Luofeng finally decided to hand over the Divine Sword of Sword River Luo to the human race. The Primal Chaos City leader approved of this choice and told him to head straight to Primal Chaos City. There, an AI system from the virtual universe would objectively and automatically appraise the sword. This was done to ensure total fairness for all the top-tier fighters in the Alliance, completely eliminating any personal bias when calculating the contribution points he'd receive. The trip to Primal Chaos City brought back some serious nostalgia for Luofeng, reminding him of when he was just a weak rookie 100,000 years ago. While on the spaceship, he overheard other passengers complaining about the nauseating time distortion, which took him right back to his first time there when he couldn't even pass the first level of the Heavenly Bridge. But look at him now, after surviving deadly battles in Blood River World's Demon Note Mountain and the Ancestral God Sect, he had transformed into a highly respected Immortal. As soon as he arrived at the port, the massive gap in social status between Luofeng and the other passengers was obvious. The ship's captain paid him the utmost respect. The guards at the city leader palace also welcomed him with high honors, thanks to his massive achievement of killing King Bark Mirror. A lot of people were already speculating that his strength was now on par with a universe venerable, especially since he already had the right to attend the Human Alliance's highest council meetings. Luofeng then walked into a side palace specifically designed for donating precious treasures. In the middle of the room sat a giant stone disc, which acted as a scanner for the virtual universe system. After wiping his soul imprint from the Divine Sword, he placed it on the disc so the system could deeply analyze its structure and power. Moments later, a blue light enveloped the weapon as the appraisal process kicked off. The virtual system's voice finally echoed, announcing that the Divine Sword of Sword River Luo was worth 12 true treasure points. Without a second thought, Luofeng accepted the deal. Instantly, the stone disc split open, swallowing the sword into the race's storage vault. In exchange, a giant catalog popped up in front of him, displaying humanity's secret inventory covering everything from rare materials to high-tier true treasures. For the next 3 hours, Luofeng carefully browsed the catalog to plan his next move. He realized that since he already had his boundless remote ocean providing infinite energy, he didn't really need recovery items or weapon crafting materials anymore. His focus fully shifted to scoring functional true treasures, even though he knew these specialized items came with a crazy high price tag compared to regular combat weapons. Comparing the prices, Luofeng noticed his true treasure points was still pretty low for buying top-tier artifacts. Domain type or soul-protecting weapons usually cost way more than 12 points, with even the cheapest ones starting at 16 points. Despite that, his eyes locked onto a super interesting domain-type treasure called the Nine Tiger River. It immediately became his main target, or could summon a massive golden river inhabited by 9 mythical beasts with tiger heads and dragon bodies, packing an insane suppressive force. For Luofeng, even though his golden thread Aurora mirror was strong enough to handle a universe venerable, he felt it lacked the binding power needed to catch slippery enemies like Venerable Tian Yang. That's exactly why he wanted the Nine Tiger River. It could multiply his power when combined with the space and metal laws he had mastered. To scrape together enough points, Luofeng started appraising the various treasures he had on hand using the system's stone disc. He briefly considered offering a cube-shaped seal that turned out to be worth 22 points, but he backed out, realizing it was way too valuable to let go of right now. Ultimately, he decided to part ways with the ancient boat galaxy, a gift from the wine master, and his golden thread Aurora mirror for extra points. Even though it broke his heart to give up his favorite flying ship, Luofeng knew that on the road to peak power, he couldn't afford to get sentimental over old gear that could be replaced by something much stronger. This contribution process really opened Luofeng's eyes to how the human alliance worked collectively to strengthen the race. The virtual system bought items from talented fighters at a slightly lower price and sold them at a higher price to members who needed them. This point margin was used by the human race to gather resources and nurture weaker, younger fighters so they could grow faster. By combining the value of the ancient boat galaxy, golden thread Aurora mirror, and Sword River Luofeng finally scraped together a total of 17.9 true treasure points, just enough to buy his main target. The second the transaction went through, a small golden beast statue emerged from the stone disc and flew into Luofeng's hand. This was the true form of the Nine Tiger River. Wasting no time, Luofeng headed straight back to his god kingdom to test out his new weapon's power over the boundless remote ocean. Using his golden horned beast form, he burned his divine power to activate the Golden River domain. It expanded to a massive 20 million mile radius, creating a scene that was both breathtakingly majestic and absolutely terrifying. The test drive was incredibly satisfying. The Nine Tiger River proved to be miles ahead of his old domain treasure. Before, he could only obliterate low-level universe venerables, but now, at full power, he could wipe out mid-level opponents, and even severely slow down universe overlords. This golden river could channel all its energy into the 9 beasts swimming inside it, unleashing a relentless barrage of physical attacks and mental pressure. Luofeng felt way more confident. If he ran into his sworn enemies again, they wouldn't be able to escape his domain so easily. Even with this new power-up, Luofeng's ambition didn't stop there. He was still dead set on getting his hands on Venerable Tian Yang's black wings. He could feel a mysterious pull between his own Shiwu wings and those black wings, a strong sign that they were likely parts of the exact same legendary set. Luofeng was convinced that if he could combine the two, his speed and spatial manipulation would skyrocket to an unimaginable level. However, he knew he needed a lot more preparation and raw power before he could genuinely challenge Venerable Tian Yang to a life-or-death battle. As his next step to level up, Luofeng decided to carry out a mission from his master, Sitting Mountain Guest, Master Zuoshan Qi, to track down the 4th piece of black metal. This mysterious metal was hidden deep within the Yinfa secret region, a place notorious for being incredibly dangerous, even for top-tier fighters. Luofeng hoped this metal would help his golden horn beast body hit the perfect life gene level, allowing him to gain a giant physical form and power matching his remote ocean body. Armed with rock-solid determination and his new weapon, Luofeng kicked off his long journey to this deadly region in pursuit of the ultimate evolution. Luofeng's journey took him to the Yinfa secret region, a super remote area that also happened to be one of the deadliest spots in the universe, right up there with the ancestral god secret region. Although it wasn't huge, the threat level was lethal, meaning Luofeng had to plan his moves with extreme caution. He decided to leave his golden horned beast body in the spaceship along with all his precious true treasures as an insurance policy. Meanwhile, his remote ocean and Mosha body set off toward their main target, a legendary place known as the Craftsman Star. Craftsman Star was no ordinary star. It was a giant celestial body spanning 1.9 trillion miles across, and in reality it was a top-tier flying palace-type true treasure. This star was ruled by the Craftsman Master, a universe master from a mountain-type special life-form race, famous for being the greatest weaponsmith in the entire universe. Because of his unique ability to forge top-tier true treasures, he commanded immense respect, even from major powers like the ancestral god sect. Pretty much no one dared to disturb the peace in his territory. To reach the star's surface, Luofeng had to navigate a maze made of 98,200 space whirlpools acting as natural wormholes. In front of these whirlpools were warning monoliths labeled everything from dangerous to forbidden. 2 of them even read off-limits, written in blood, radiating the intense aura of a universe master. Rumor had it that anyone foolish enough to enter the off-limits area was almost guaranteed to die, and the rare few who survived kept their mouths completely shut about the horrors they saw inside. Upon landing successfully, Luofeng immediately felt a vibe totally different from other secret regions. Killing was strictly prohibited on Craftsman Star. This place was a paradise for various special life forms who just wanted to live in peace or learn the art of forging directly from the master. Disguised as a 30-foot giant, Luofeng started feeling a crazy strong magnetic pull from the 4th black metal. It felt like it was calling out to his soul from afar, entirely unbothered by any world barriers. Following his instincts, Luofeng ran into a green energy lifeform named Bal Ni Sha. The friendly being explained that countless powerful fighters from all sorts of races came here just to beg the Craftsman Master to take them in as disciples. At that point, the Master only had 182 official students, and just getting an audience with him was insanely hard. He rarely showed his face in public unless he was actively testing his disciples. After a half-hour walk, Luofeng finally arrived at the foot of Craftsman Mountain, a majestic peak that pierced the clouds and served as the Universe Master's private residence. This was where reality hit him hard. The 4th black metal was located straight inside the Craftsman Master's personal estate. Even though Luofeng was way stronger than before, he was still sweating it. This mission required him to deal directly with one of the most influential beings in the universe, someone who could easily see through all his tricks. Surrounding the mountain area were tons of buildings erected by elite fighters, including Universe Venerables, who were willing to wait years on end just for a shot at getting a true treasure. Bo Ni Sha suggested that Luofeng join the crowd if he wanted to try his luck at becoming a disciple. But Luofeng's main focus was solely on the task given by Master Zuo Shan Ke. He had to rack his brain to figure out how to swipe that piece of black metal without triggering a war with the Lord of the Mountain. The scene at the base of Craftsman Mountain was absolutely unreal. Hundreds of powerful beings from various races were kneeling in deep devotion. Luofeng noticed that almost a third of them were Universe Venerables while the rest were Immortal level fighters. They all shared one massive ambition: to become the Craftsman Master's disciple. They were willing to kneel for thousands of years just to prove their determination. After all, for a weaponsmith, patience is the ultimate key before you can master the art of forging legendary true treasures. Through a quick chat, Luofeng realized just how ridiculously high the standards were here. It turned out that the fighters kneeling weren't just ordinary warriors, they were forging geniuses who could already craft treasures even at the Immortal level. This made Luofeng feel a bit out of his depth, considering he was a total amateur when it came to weapon crafting. His initial plan to infiltrate the mountain by posing as a disciple instantly went out the window since he had zero technical talent. Left with no other choice, Luofeng built a small house at the foot of the mountain to observe the situation and wait for an opening. Over the half-year he spent living there, he started networking with other elite fighters, including a few universe overlords. Through these interactions, he realized that Craftsman Mountain wasn't just a place to learn. It was the last beacon of hope for leaders of smaller races. They came here desperately hoping to get powerful weapons at a fairer price than they would through the major alliance exchange systems. One of Luofeng's new buddies was Venerable Chrysalis, a leader of the Silken Rock race who carried the heavy burden of his people's survival. Listening to Venerable Chrysalis's stories, Luofeng gained a whole new perspective on how lucky he was to be part of the dominant human race with its fair systems. For a small race leader like his friend, a single true treasure could literally determine the future of their entire civilization. That's why they were willing to wait in limbo for the Master's help. Venerable Chrysalis's story reminded Luofeng of the tragic fate of Shi Luo Dual and the Golden Horned race, who were forced to become a vassal race after losing their strongest protector. He began to understand that individual strength wasn't always enough in this vast universe. The responsibility of carrying a whole race on your shoulders was often much heavier than just chasing personal power. Even though his main goal was to steal the 4th black metal, Luofeng genuinely empathized with him, and even promised to lend a hand if his friend's race ever faced the threat of extinction. The calm vibe in the settlement suddenly shattered when a few of the Craftsman Master's disciples descended from the peak. Thousands of fighters who had been holed up in their buildings immediately rushed out, hoping to catch an audience or order a new weapon. The appearance of these disciples was always a highly anticipated event because they were the only middlemen between the outside world and the super-reclusive master. However, the massive hopes of the treasure seekers were instantly crushed when the disciples announced that the Craftsman master had gone away on a long trip. Word was that the master wouldn't be back anytime soon. His journey could take anywhere from thousands to tens of thousands of years. This news was a heavy blow for Luofeng. His target was sitting right inside the master's now empty residence, but it was still a place no random person could enter without official permission. The news about the Craftsman master leaving to visit a friend actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise for Luofeng. While the other fighters were disappointed and settled back in to wait for thousands of years, Luofeng saw this as the ultimate security loophole to infiltrate Craftsman Mountain. He realized that without the universe master around, the mountain's security relied solely on the disciples. As talented and strong as they were, none of them were anywhere near their teacher's level of power. To minimize the risk of losing his priceless loot, Luofeng came up with a genius plan to split up his bodies. The golden horned beast was left in the ship with all his true treasures to keep them perfectly safe. Meanwhile, the Mosha body, the ultimate master of disguise and escape, was tasked with infiltrating the core of the mountain. The Mosha body shrank down to the size of an ant and began moving nimbly through the rocky crevices, completely dodging the detection of the Craftsman master's 182 busy disciples. The infiltration led Luofeng into giant caves blasting out extreme heat waves with temperatures hitting millions of degrees. He found that the core area of Craftsman Mountain was protected by a super-strong space seal, meaning teleportation was completely useless inside. Luckily for Luofeng, the Immortal level disciples working near the cave entrances didn't notice the tiny intruders smoothly sneaking past them in the shadows of the rocks. While inside the secret area, Luofeng kept a close eye on the disciples' activities, noting that they were split up based on their strength and heat tolerance. The Immortal level disciples could only work on the fringes, while the Universe Venerables handled the forging deeper inside, where the heat was way deadlier. Luofeng's attention was then drawn to Ninth Brother, a universe overlord who happened to be the most talented disciple and an absolute master at handling fire, mainly because he was an energy-type lifeform himself. The real challenge hit when Luofeng detected that the fourth black metal was located right at the bottom of the hottest fire core inside the mountain. The item was sitting dangerously close to where three universe overlords were working, including the legendary Ninth Brother. Knowing that moving within such close range was practically begging to be caught, Luofeng, currently disguised as a small pebble, chose to sit tight and wait patiently for the elite fighters to finish up their shifts. For over a month, Luofeng was forced to hide behind the rocks and watch the insanely complex weapon forging process. He was blown away by Ninth Brother's hammering technique. The contrast was crazy. Sometimes his strikes were so devastating they looked like they could shatter the universe, but in an instant they would turn as gentle as a breeze to fuse materials together. This forging process was like a high-class art performance, showing exactly how tough it was to craft a perfect, true treasure. Luck finally smiled on Luofeng when Ninth Brother finished a top-tier treasure set and decided to go take a break with his two buddies. The second, those three universe overlords flew out of the fire core and headed to the rest area. The mountain's core went dead silent, completely unsupervised for the time being. Without wasting a single second, the Mosha body morphed back into a human wearing a black robe, ready to secure the fourth black metal he had been hunting for. After successfully sneaking into the depths of Craftsman Mountain, Luofeng found the source of all the forging fire, a 10-foot-tall black gourd floating in midair. This mysterious gourd was connected to 36 virtual chains that continuously sucked up limitless energy from the Craftsman star's atmosphere. Luofeng realized that this thing was the core component of the star, acting as an eternal furnace. Stealing it was completely out of the question since its weight and power were on par with the Thousand Treasure River. The only way to get the fourth black metal was to literally dive into the mouth of the gourd that was constantly spewing flames. Luofeng guessed that this gourd was both a highly advanced defense mechanism and the Craftsman Master's personal tool. The temptation of scoring the legendary artifact pushed him to run a dangerous experiment, sending his cloned bodies into a furnace hot enough to incinerate a star in the blink of an eye. He ran his first test by sending in the Mosha body using a domain technique. The results were brutal. The body instantly evaporated into ash before he could even get a look inside the gourd. The speed of the fire's destruction far outpaced the regeneration abilities of any immortal level being. Acknowledging the fail, Luofeng quickly recovered his divine power and prepped Plan B, which involved using his original Earthling body. On his second attempt, Luofeng tried hiding his original body inside a world ring carried by the Mosha body. But the moment it entered the gourd, the world ring melted and shattered, completely unable to handle the extreme heat. In the split second before his body was destroyed again, Luofeng managed to catch a glimpse of a pile of precious materials at the bottom of the gourd, including the black metal he was after. But he still failed to grab it before his body was consumed by the flames. Refusing to give up, Luofeng deployed his remote ocean body, which boasted a much more massive reserve of divine power and a gigantic size. He hoped that with better durability he could fly long enough to snatch the black metal. Unfortunately, the fire inside the black gourd was way more savage than he expected. Even though the remote ocean body dove at full speed, the colossal body was still destroyed before it could even touch the bottom where the precious materials were stored. These back-to-back failures left Luofeng deep in thought inside his spaceship, parked 3,000 light-years away. Through his golden-horned beast form, he analyzed that the fire's power inside the gourd easily dwarfed even the strongest attack from a universe overlord. Without top-tier protection, regular defensive treasures were totally useless. The fire's destructive power could melt through any defense that wasn't at the level of a pinnacle true treasure. Now Luofeng was stuck in a brutal dilemma, torn between his thirst for power and the need to be cautious. He knew his only ticket to surviving inside that gourd was the Force Armor, his legendary armor capable of reducing damage down to 1/1000. But the risk of losing the Force Armor forever if he failed made him hesitate. Losing a treasure of that caliber would be an immeasurable setback on his path to becoming a universe ruler. After agonizing over it for more than 6 hours, Luofeng finally made the reckless choice to use the Force Armor to get the fourth black metal. He knew that a treasure like the Force Armor was incredibly precious, even for someone who might become a universe master in the future. But his ambition to push the golden horned beast to a perfect life gene level and master the I am the universe technique far outweighed his fear of losing the armor. With a solid strategy, he geared up the golden horned beast with the Force Armor for defense and kept the Shiwu Wings and Nine Tiger River ready for a quick escape if things went south. Luofeng intentionally left behind the Tower Pearl, the key to the Star Tower, so it wouldn't be lost if he failed. To him, the Star Tower was a far more vital treasure. He felt relatively calm, knowing that even if he got killed, his boundless remote ocean body could just revive his clones without an issue. Plus, he figured that if the Craftsman Master ended up with the Force Armor, his master, Sitting Mountain Guest, might step in to take it back, since he was the one who created it anyway. With his mind made up, he immediately ordered the Mosha body to sneak him back into Craftsman Mountain. This infiltration was executed with pinpoint precision. The Mosha body spammed the domain technique until it reached the super hot bottom of the mountain. There, the golden horned beast, buffed by the beast god transformation and deities of the earth techniques, got ready to enter the black gourd's mouth. Even though the fire inside was lethal enough to scorch high-tier treasures, the Force Armor proved to be incredible, reducing the damage down to a mere 1/10,000. This allowed Luofeng to survive inside the Eternal Furnace, even as his divine power slowly drained away. While diving inside the gourd, Luofeng used the remote ocean body inside a world ring as a backup battery, constantly replenishing the golden horned beast's divine power. Navigating the 6,000-mile-wide space, he successfully reached the bottom, which was filled with purple fire, the purest essence of heat. Down there, he spotted various rare materials, neatly arranged, including the piece of black metal he had been searching for. However, those items were protected by an engraving seal emitting a dim black light. Wasting no time, Luofeng used the sharpness of the Shiwungs to slash the protective seal right in half. As soon as the seal broke, he grabbed the fourth black metal and swallowed it instantly so the secret info inside could be transferred straight to his soul. However, breaking that seal triggered a defense alarm that immediately alerted the Craftsman Master at his hidden location. Sensing a massive threat closing in, the golden horned beast bolted out of the gourd's mouth as fast as possible, running on fumes of its remaining divine power. Luofeng's success in snacking the metal instantly turned into a nightmare when an overwhelming pressure descended and froze the space around him. The Craftsman Master had returned in a flash, and he was furious that an intruder had dared to break his engraving seal. A giant stone hand slammed down from the cave ceiling, grabbing the golden horned beast with enough force to obliterate a universe overlord. Luofeng had to drain every last drop of energy from his remote ocean body just to survive a single lethal squeeze from the Mountain Lord. Stunned that this tiny creature managed to survive his attack, the Craftsman Master decided not to kill Luofeng on the spot, figuring the stolen material wasn't all that valuable to him anyway. Using his mastery over space and time, he chucked the golden horned beast off the planet toward one of the 98-200 surrounding wormholes. But instead of tossing him somewhere safe, the Master hurled him straight into the whirlpool labeled Land of Extremists, a forbidden zone known as the deadliest dumping ground for anyone who dared disturb his peace. After tossing the golden horned beast into the space whirlpool, the Craftsman Master stood quietly, staring at the Land of Extremists. Even though he was a tremendously powerful universe master with hundreds of glass arms, he still bowed to the orders of Sitting Mountain Guest. To him, that mysterious ruler was the teacher who had guided him from being an ordinary blacksmith into becoming the universe's greatest weapon maker. Without a second of hesitation, he carried out the instructions as part of a trial specifically set up for Luofeng. It turned out that the whole incident at Craftsman Mountain was nothing but a setup orchestrated by Sitting Mountain Guest. The Craftsman Master felt a mix of pity and envy toward Luofeng, knowing that this level of attention meant the young man was considered a special disciple. But this trial was brutal. If Luofeng couldn't bust out of the Land of Extremis on his own, he'd be stuck there for thousands of trillions of years, essentially for eternity. Having finished his task, the mountain giant vanished, returning to his home on Craftsman Star. Down at the base of the mountain, the atmosphere suddenly exploded with excitement when the disciples announced their master had returned to begin testing new disciple candidates. Thousands of universe venerables who had been waiting forever quickly got ready, hyped out of their minds, hoping to score true treasures or officially become a disciple. But amidst the cheers, Venerable Chrysalis was left super confused because he couldn't find his buddy anywhere. He searched Luofeng's entire residence, but the human fighter had vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, in a spaceship sitting 3,000 light-years away, Luofeng's original body was gripped by intense panic. For the first time ever, he had completely lost his conscious connection to his golden horned beast body. Normally, no matter the distance, he could always sense his clones, but the Land of Extremists seemed to have wiped their existence right off the map of the universe. This made Luofeng realize that his new dumping ground had some seriously extreme spatial isolation. Inside the Land of Extremists, the Mosha body began exploring the area. It looked like a normal starry sky, but it hid a terrifying weirdness. There were absolutely no space ripples here, and even worse, his connection to both the virtual universe and his god country was completely severed. Without access to either, Luofeng couldn't use god country transportation to escape, nor could he replenish his divine power through the remote ocean. He was totally trapped in a deadly silence. Luofeng finally concluded that this was a brutal training regimen deliberately set up by Sitting Mountain Guest. Similar to his experience getting trapped in Ice Hell, he was now being forced to push past his absolute limits in what looked like an impossible situation. Even though he was super stressed about the high risk of losing priceless treasures like the Force Armor, Nine Tiger River, and Shiwu Wings, he tried to stay cool. He trusted that every arrangement his master made was a key step toward elevating his life gene level to a state of perfection. The weirdness of the Land of Extremists peaked when Luofeng tried flying at max speed to find a way out. When he hit the speed of light, he didn't transition into the dark universe like the normal laws of physics in his original universe dictate. Instead, he just kept accelerating past light speed while remaining in the exact same space. This proved that the underlying laws of the universe in this place were totally different. Realizing he was in a completely alien dimension, Luofeng now had to brace himself for a massive mystery that would put all his combat logic to the ultimate test. So what happens next? Let's wait and see in the next video, guys. Okay, thank you for watching until the end, and don't forget to support this channel with likes, subscribe, and comments. That's all from me. Bye.